and everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know.
We have flight logs. We have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
So that's what they said about a month into Trump's second term. They then released binders of information that was already available to pre-selected right-wing grifters, but after that didn't suffice. Pam Bondi's excuse then was that it's taking longer than expected because of the sheer volume of information that they were going through. But all of a sudden, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino at the FBI started to sing a completely different tune. And hilariously enough, a right-winger on Twitter created a video to showcase this blatant contradiction that we were seeing.
Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child, and there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now.
Yeah. Now, fast forward to today, and Pam Bondi is suddenly in complete agreement with Kash Patel, and all of these people are saying the same exact thing, which is crazy because at one point she even said that Epstein's client list was on her desk. But I want you to hear how the White House press secretary is spinning what she said.
According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network, on Fox News. Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars.
You heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were very close for 10 years. But let's pretend for a moment that a cover-up isn't happening specifically to protect Donald Trump. If that's the case, why then is Epstein's main accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, serving 20 years in prison? I mean, part of her conviction is for sex trafficking, which implies the existence of client lists. Otherwise, how would the prosecution even get a conviction without clients to traffic victims to in the first place? It makes no sense, right? And Pam Bondi herself knows of at least one associate of Epstein who was a potential client, and that individual is Bill Clinton. And this is what she said before she became AG.
We know he was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein, and he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years. Contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't spoken to him in many years, over a decade, after he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago for bad behavior.
If Trump was to actually prosecute this, it would bring down the CIA. The question is Trump's DOJ actually using this to control the deep state?
He was friends with Epstein. I'm sure he can be friends with Elon Musk.
He actually helped Epstein be prosecuted. He was the only person who was involved. Kicked him out of the Epstein. You know all this. Like, it's just a very.
Have you heard of Alexander Acosta, the Florida district attorney who was? Have you heard of Alexander Acosta? You know who that is?
You're like, oh, I got it. Look at me. Like, I'm the guy from Third Eye.
You know who Alexander Acosta is? You were duped to cover up sexual abuse of
Donald Trump was kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump was the only one who went to investigators and said, I will work with you against Epstein. This has been litigated a million times. It's been litigated.
First of all, Brian, I'll come to you, but Adam, just explain what you're talking about.
Yeah, really quickly, Alexander Acosta was a Florida district attorney. You can look this up. He knew both Trump and Epstein. He was appointed as a Secretary of Labor under Trump and had to resign in 2017 because people found out that he mishandled the Epstein case in 2007 and let Epstein get an illegal plea deal. Epstein was then able to go reoffend, and Trump appointed him in 2017. So I don't want to hear the dude that was brought to the White House to cover up sexual abuse saying that there was, like, what are you trying to say here? Yeah.
You gonna wipe your face? Can you just wipe that little thing off your face there a little bit? You got a little,
right, hold on a second.
mud on your face.
You have no points.
Hold on a second.
No points, huh?
Can I add something? First of all, I hear the MAGA bullshit detector going off every single time Jack opens his mouth. First of all, people like Jack were the people who called Joe Biden a pedophile for sniffing hair. But yet we have Jeffrey Epstein on tape calling Donald Trump his best friend. They were hanging out together constantly. I've spoken to Jeffrey Epstein's brother many times. They were very close. I'm not done yet. Jack,
Piers, we can go through all this again, but Piers, I know you've done this.
I'm not done yet. I didn't interrupt you.
You've been a real reporter on this. These guys just want to play politics. I'm trying to be serious here.
Jack,
dude, you were at the White House with Epstein files in your hand.
Yeah, just talked about it.
Right, exactly, Jack. Jack, just you want to defend Donald Trump and wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7, but when it comes to a Democrat, they're all pedophiles. But if Donald Trump is actually hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein and
so do you
Epstein
have like
calls
any
him
evidence
his
of
best
this? Like,
friend,
can you have like a source on that, bro?
No, because the paid body won't release the sources.
Actually, yeah, I do. The Maxwell trial, where it was learned that he was on the Epstein flight. Why don't you listen? It was in the trial, in the Maxwell trial, that he was on the flight log 7 times. We have Jeffrey Epstein on audio calling him his best friend. So here's my question to Jack. Jack, if Jeffrey Epstein was on audio...
And how many times did Jeffrey Epstein say that he was one of the founding members of the Clinton Institute?
I don't defend... Jack, if Jeffrey Epstein was on audio saying that Joe Biden was his best friend, that wouldn't concern you at all?
Man, these
all
are like
you do is deflect and you talk about other people.
Do you guys have anything new?
So let's really lay this out logically. Let's imagine just for a second that Trump was actually guilty. What would that look like? But what would it actually look like if Trump were trying to hide involvement with Epstein-style crimes? First thing you'd see is management over moral outrage, right? Trump loves to go nuclear on people. He will attack journalists, war heroes, disabled people, teenage activists like Greta Thunberg. But Epstein, Maxwell, soft as a pillow. I wish her well, he says. If he was truly disgusted by child traffickers, wouldn't he have torn them apart publicly? Instead, he suddenly becomes the nicest man alive. That's not outrage. That's fear of exposure. Now, second thing is, he wouldn't want any files out. Before he was elected, Trump was always squirming when asked about releasing the files. Of course, Fox News tried to cover that up, but right wing only cares about the supposed cover-up, with Kamala, half of word salad being shown and the other half of the word salad not being shown. But Trump squirming when asked to release the files, they don't care about that, right? Once he got into office, he surrounded himself with yes men and women and MAGA loyalists all over the government. If he wanted those Epstein files out, they would have been out yesterday. But he didn't release them. Why? Why would he protect people like Clinton, right? We were told Clinton's in the files, and they have the files. They got the Epstein files, and Clinton's in there. So why is Trump now protecting the Democrats by saying, there's no files, nothing to be seen here? Why would he hide files that could expose his enemies? Because those files might also expose him. He didn't want transparency. He wanted control. And now the third thing is strategic silence and weird alliances. Trump publicly disassociates from Epstein in the weakest possible way, banning him from Mar-a-Lago after a specific incident, not because he suddenly grew a conscience, but because that's exactly what you do when you want to distance yourself after your friend gets busted. Classic criminal move. I don't know this guy. I never seen him before. I know Trump does that, but also criminals do that as well. When their partners get implicated, they're like, I don't know him, don't call me, right? The heat's on you, I don't want the heat on me, so I'm a distance from you. Not because I got an issue with what you're doing, because I'm doing it too, but I'm not trying to go down like you, right? I got a business to run, right? The fourth thing is, if Trump was guilty, he would fill his government with loyalists instead of truth seekers. If he were innocent and wanted to destroy these networks, he would have hired aggressive, no-nonsense investigators. Instead, we got Acosta, the same guy who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal, appointed as labor secretary. You don't pick that guy if you want justice. You pick him if you want to keep the lid on tight on your involvement with Epstein. Now, here's the kicker. So Adam Mockler exposes all of this live, the Acosta connection, the file cover-ups, the loyalty network. And after Adam drops this bomb, what did Jack say? I think this is the most critical part of the whole panel. After everything that Adam Mockler says, the only response he gets back is clean your face. If Jack actually believed that Trump was innocent and he wasn't just pandering to morons in the MAGA movement, he would be excited at the opportunity to defend Donald Trump. he would have an explanation and evidence and be able to challenge and rebut what Adam said. But instead, he gave a very juvenile, wipe your face response. The only people that believe that Trump is innocent are the audience members watching right-wing media. The right-wing influencers, once again, they all know the truth. They know Trump is guilty. They know how bad Trump is. They know how dangerous he is to the country. But they choose money and profit over the country, over their integrity. So they're all sitting around pretending, oh, we don't know what's happening. Maybe Pam Bondi has the files, and what's going on? I don't know. I don't understand what's happening. They know exactly what's happening. The only people in the dark are the right-wing audience members. That's it. You guys are an island to yourself. The rest of the country and right-wing media influencers, most of them anyway, they know that Trump is guilty. They know the truth about this and many other things, right? They live in reality like the rest of us. They just pretend to believe what they've made you believe. Time to unplug. Time to join reality. The Democrats are corrupt. I'm not a Democrat, probably never will be. Joe Biden is a joke, in my view. But Trump is a criminal. He is a sex pest, and he was definitely on that Epstein list. And I can't imagine what disgusting things that he did on that plane and on that island. But once again, even if we had definitive proof of him doing the worst with children or whatever it is, MAGA would not care. They never cared. It was never about Epstein. It was never about the kids. It was never about the women. It was always about a nexus to attacking the Democrats, right? What the real interest is, oh, Clinton and the Democrats, and they're drinking babies' blood and whatever, right? That's what it was all about, right? If there was no connection to the Democrats, there'd be no interest in Epstein, right? That's just the cold hard reality. That's why, and proof of this is, there's no big right-wing media story about sex trafficking or women being abused that's not directly connected to Democrats or their political opponents, right? It's just like the fentanyl thing. And they talk about women being assaulted and whatever with the border. They don't care about that stuff. They just mention it because it justifies their border rhetoric and the policies that they support. That's the reason for it, right? If they were the open borders people, I can guarantee you they would not be talking about fentanyl and what's happening to the coyotes and what they're doing to women. They would not be mentioning this at all. The only reason they mention it is to justify that rhetoric. The only reason they talk about Epstein is to attack the Democrats, right? These people do not care about God, country, even fellow MAGA people. They'll see a fellow MAGA person's business destroyed by Trump's policies. They don't give a fuck. As long as it doesn't affect them directly, who cares?
They promised a blockbuster, a hidden client list, damning videos, proof that Trump was different. They told you he was going to drain the swamp, take down the elites, and finally reveal the darkest secrets in America. Then what did we get? A binder of old documents, redacted pages, and complete silence. Look at the people who built their entire brand on fighting the deep state and saving the children. Ben Shapiro, nothing. Steven Crowder, silent. Tim Pool, gone. The same people who would make 10 videos about a single Democrat's tweet won't touch this. The few who are talking, like Elon Musk or Robbie Starbuck, are flailing around, confused. What happened to the proof? Because they know this was never about justice. It was never about victims. It was always about weaponizing outrage until it turned on their own hero. And here's the coldest truth of all. Their audience doesn't actually care about the truth either. All they cared about was using Epstein as a weapon to go after liberals and Democrats. Anything about Epstein that isn't tied to Democrats, it doesn't matter to them. Even if we had Trump on video assaulting a child, they would pretend to care for a few weeks. Then they'd pivot. Clinton did it too. This is the past. Trump has changed. He's a better man today. Because they have two choices. Admit they put a man who assaulted kids and is a sexual predator into the White House, permanently staining America's history, or believe literally anything right-wing influences tell them to avoid facing that reality. 99% of the time, they'll choose the deflection. Because here's the difference. If we found out Clinton was the worst offender, the left would gladly watch him rot in prison. But if we find that out about Trump, the right will instantly pivot, deflect, make excuses, and beg to move on. That's the final test, the final exposure. And it's the final nail in the coffin for anyone still defending Trump.
Listen to his answer.
Dana Marie McNichol, Fox News Channel. Mr. President, is there an expected time frame that detainees will spend here, days, weeks, months? And does that have anything to do with the immigration judges you just spoke about being trained and staffed here?
When you say, what was the first part of your question?
Is there a specific time frame you expect the detainees to spend here, days, weeks, months?
In Florida?
Yes, here at Alligator Alcatraz.
I'm going to spend a lot. Look, this is my home state. I love it. I love your government. I love all the people around. These are all friends of mine. They know them very well. I mean, I'm not surprised that they do so well. They're great people. Ron has been a friend of mine for a long time. I feel very comfortable in the state. I'll spend a lot of time here. I want to, for 4 years, I've got to be in Washington, and I'm okay with it because I love the White House. I even fix up the little Oval Office. I make it, it's like a diamond. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It wasn't maintained properly, I will tell you that. But even when it wasn't, it was still the Oval Office, so it meant a lot. But I'll spend as much time as I can here. My vacation is generally here.
How long will the detainees stay at Alligator Alcatraz?
Because it's convenient. I live in Palm Beach. It's my home. And I have a very nice little place, nice little cottage to stay at, right? But we have a lot of fun, and I'm a big contributor to Florida. Pay a lot of tax, and a lot of people move from New York, and I don't know what New York is going to do. A lot of people moved to Florida from New York, and it was for a lot of reasons, but one of them was taxes. The taxes are so high in New York, they're leaving. I don't know what New York's going to do about that, because some of the biggest, wealthiest people and some of the people that pay the most taxes of any people anywhere.
Okay, how long will the detainees stay at Alligator Alcatraz? And he gave an answer talking about how he doesn't know how long he personally is going to stay in Florida. He redecorated the Oval Office. It looks like a little diamond. He has a little cottage. He loves Florida. All of his friends are in Florida. If Joe Biden answered any question like this, could you imagine how long Jake Tapper's book would be? And the collective covering up of his dementia by the media, by the people that see that clip, the collective cover up of this clearly demented man who is in advanced cognitive decline is breathtaking.